Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. Well, like a velociraptor stalking his prey, I was stalking the postman this morning as Delivery 12 has arrived, and I'm excited to get into this. So, we've got some awesome issues, of course. We've got 2 issues of Boyz and 2 paint issues. Not the biggest savings, but still quite a bit of value there anyway. So yeah, I don't think I'll tattle on too long, but before we hit the table and take a look through this unboxing, don't forget to do all the usual. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment down below. Love hearing back from you, and what are you most excited about this delivery? I am enjoying the orcs, but kind of looking forward to seeing how our painting guide for basing is going to go. We kind of know from the premium kits, but it's nice that we're finally getting it as a tutorial. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need from getting started to expanding your force. They have all your past and present partworks from Hachette and collectible icons and items as well. So check them out, there's a link in the video description, or they have their physical store. Right, let's not put off any longer, let's dive over to the table and rip open our bag to unlock Delivery 12. So I've ripped open the bag and we can get straight into it, I think. So I've got paperwork first to get out of the way. One piece we can look at because it's our next special issue, and we're getting Harken World Claimer, which was rumoured a few months ago and has now been confirmed. So yeah, we're getting this guy. He'll replace the Dark Apostle for use in the combat patrol, so it'll be quite a nice additional thing to add to our army. I still need to get around to doing Tigurius as a live stream. I just haven't really been finding the time and or the energy to get it done. So hopefully soon, maybe. See how things go. But yeah, got our second character special on the way. And yeah, a nice new character to add to our Chaos Space Marines Black Legion force. And I've already got 2 boxes of Raptors to go with this guy. One's built and the other one just needs to be built with a champion and 2 more plasma pistols. And yeah, this is going to be a pretty cool unit to add to my Black Legion collection. And the most important thing, of course, is our issues. So, what have we got? First off, we have our paint issue with our texture paint and our texture spreader. So, issue 44. We have our second paint issue with Nightquestal Flesh and Stormhost Silver, so issue 46. And then we got 2 sets of Orc Boyz, each one being built slightly differently in 43 and 45. So, right, we'll organise these and then we'll go through them one at a time. So we'll kick things off with issue 43. So our first new unit to add to our orcs, a squad of your basic Boyz. So we've got our 32mm hex hole bases, as these are push fit models, which I was really surprised about. I was expecting them to be multi-part, but not exactly push fit, so quite interesting. So we've got our frame here. So we've got our boss pole for our knob, he's shooter for the power claw, the huge chopper for the, well, huge chopper knob, and he's got a support arm if you have the huge chopper, and the power claw arm for the one with the slugger. We've got 3 Boyz with shooters, 1 with a big shooter or rocket launcher, and the rest have choppers and sluggers. Yeah, all in all, still some pretty nice looking models. Not a lot of variety though, they are very samey. 2 heads for the knobs, so you've got 2 choices there when it comes to building your unit champion. Other than that though, I think everything is near enough the same sort of build, duplicated. But yeah, it's a nice update to the Orc Boyz kit. The current old one is still available if you want to add that to your collection. But hopefully they'll do a full multi-part one at a future time, with full options to go all shooters or all choppers and sluggers. So there's that. Into the magazine. So it's going to be a pretty unit focused magazine. So let's have a look. So yeah, straight off our build guide. So we're building the boy with the boss knob with the huge chopper. Then we're building slugger, slugger, slugger and chopper, a shooter boy, slugger and chopper, shooter boy, slugger and chopper, and then the big shooter. Big shooters make a dakka dakka sound as they spray bullets. Then onto our paint guide. So we're painting these with 3 coats of Abaddon Black first of all, then picking out all our silver details, picking out the green skin, and we've got a nice little box here which is all about ragtag. So orcs are as rough and ready bunch, and the closest they get to a uniform is when they all try to outdo each other by wearing the best version of a certain colour. When you're painting your boys, you should aim to have them looking similar but not identical. Feel free to deviate from the guide and mix and match colours. For example, you might choose to paint some of the trousers grey, some black. You can also add patches of clashing red paint to the armour if you like. So yeah, a nice little bit that we say, that's the first time we're seeing them say, feel free to deviate from our paint guides, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Mechanica Standard Grey for jackets and trousers, Catch and Flesh for all our leathers, Rakoff Flesh for the banding on the huge chopper, Mephiston Red for loincloths and some of the armour panels, Screamer Pink for tongues, Wraithbone for any trophy skulls and teeth, as well as the horns on our boss, and Corax White for the boss icons on his boss rack. Coolio Green shade is just used on the skin. Nuln Oil is used on pretty much everything else, with the exception of our Wraithbone and Rakoff Flesh areas, which get Agrax Earthshade. And some of our metal details is used Agrax Earthshade to give a brassy appearance. So details on the shooter, the ammo in our shooter boys there. And then we're relayering the orc skin with Orc Flesh, focusing on the mainly higher areas to bring a bit of brightness back to our orcs. And there's our boys up to this finished standard, and yeah, they look pretty good. Then we have our collect article for them, we have our naming table for them, and I've ripped the page already, yay. Oh, too late, damage is done. Then we got our scenario, a good crumping, so it's Tyranids versus Orcs. So we got our Orc War Boss and the Orc Boys, I'm guessing. Orc player has 2 units of 5 boys. Okay, so no boss. 2 units of 5 boys, Tyranid player has 2 units of 10 termagants. Okay, interesting. So yeah, we fight off against termagants. We have the looting table, so we score points if we manage to loot objectives. We got our victory conditions, and we can redo the scenario with either Infernus Marines, Guardians, or the Legionnaires. Alright, moving on to our first paint issue, issue 44. So this is probably the best value paint issue we've had, as we actually get the texture spreader and a big pot of paint, which actually pushes the value of the issue over the $9.99. So, interesting to see how this goes. So first off, we've got our Astro Granite, which is our texture paint. So we're going to be applying this to all our bases. And we've got Administratum Grey, which we'll be using to dry brush over the top once the Astro Granite's dry. And we've got our texture spreader to help apply this to our bases. And yeah, I've got quite a couple of these already not used from previous collections. So it's going to be interesting. Let's have a look at the magazine. So here we go. So first off, we have a technique all about dry brushing. So yeah, cool. We're going to learn how to use dry brush. So we got our dry brush on our premium subscriber gifts. And it's even showing us how to do the dry brushing on the terrain that we get with our terrain collection. And how to clean your brush off. Make sure you do the same as you did with loading up your brush. So work it and get the water into all the bristles to get the paint clean. Then we have a new technique page for basing, so how to base our models. Shake your pot, making sure you got a good mixture. So it says to to get a base coat of Mechanica Standard Grain on your base first. Then put your texture paste down, shade it with Known Oil, dry brush with Administratum Grey, and paint your base rim with Abaddon Black. And yeah, to paint, we're going to do a look at our collection's bases. So we're going to be finishing off all the rocks and stuff on our models' bases, including the weapon platform there, all our termagants, and the chaplain's base as well. Then we're applying a texture paste. So for bases that have detail already, you can just paint and shade. Once the texture paste is dried, you can shade it down, and then we're going to dry brush, picking out all your stones as well as the texture paste. And then we're looking at little details, so bits of metal and gold picked out with Retributor armor and Leadbelcher in respectively. Wraithbone details are picked out with, well, Wraithbone, and skulls as well. Then right and fresh shade is used to shade down the gold details, Known Oil to shade our silvered bits, and Agrax Earthshade for our skulls and Wraithbones. And then we have all our updated models. Yeah, make sure you do this to your entire collection, of course, working in small batches. Lore-wise then, we're looking at new Orcs lore with Gork and Mork, the twin-headed gods. We're looking at ranged weapons as we look at technology part 2. So we've got the basic sort of troopers, then there's elite weapons and even bigger heavy weapons. Bonds of Honor part 11, so we face off against some Orcs. Then back to core rules with aircraft and how to muster your army. So another issue here where we'll be able to play a full combat patrol game. Looking forward to that one. Right, back to the previous issue, kind of, as we look at Orc Boys part 2 with issue 45. So yeah, it's the same again. We've got our bases, so 20 in total, 32mm hexhole bases. Oops, we've got a bit of broken sprue, that's fine, chuck that off. And yeah, the sprue is exactly the same as the last one, so nothing different there. The main difference will be looking at the magazine. So, build guide, we're going to be building our unit, this time the Knob Boss with the Power Claw and Slugger. And we've got a different head as well to give him. Then, yeah, the boys are pretty much the same as the previous issue. So, 5 with Slugger and Chopper, 3 with Shooter. But the only difference is going to be the rocket launcher here, which is going to be replacing the big shooter. And the paint guide is going to be very much the same as last time. This time it's a little more streamlined. So we start with Abaddon Black, all our Leadbelcher details, all our flesh details, all our cloth details, all our leather details, all our wrapping details, our red details. So we've got some extra details to pick out. You got tips of the rockets and the plume on the boss's Slugger there. Screen of pink details. Then Wraithbone. Got a yellow cable to pick out on our rocket launcher and some white areas as well. Shading, we're doing Corellia green shade on the flesh, Known Oil on pretty much everything else except for teeth and skulls, which get Agrax Earthshade. We're also using Agrax Earthshade on stuff like ammo and drums on the shooters. Michael Flesh Shade is used for those of the yellow cables, so the Knob's Claw and the rocket launcher. And then we're doing a quick tidy up on the flesh with Auric Flesh. And then basing technique, so reminds you to go to your previous issues basing technique, so technique 6 and how to base your models. And then we have our completed gallery. As these are 2 separate units, not one big one like the Termagants, we have a second battle record for this unit of Boys, so we can name our Knob and the Boys unit underneath him. And yeah, we've got a second data sheet there as well. So mission wise, for core rules, we've got how to set up your missions. So objective markers, etc. there. And then scenario 29, a Gooder Crumpin. So to play this, you need your 2 units of 10 Boys, 10 Termagants, and 3 Vulnerized Leapers. And yeah, 4 objectives and diamond, and we're set up either side. And yeah, so we've got special abilities, so we've got Get 'em Lads, Got 'em Surrounded, and Nobody Shoots at Me. So some special abilities there we use for our orcs. So each player can make use of the following 3 special abilities. They can use each of them once and only used during the phase indicated in the instructions below. And then we got our victory conditions, and we can change the enemy around. So you can always customize the scenario again for more experience and how the boys fare against different opponents. Both players should help to decide the enemies to use, and both have fun and learn more about their units. To help build a fun and engaging scenario, you can look at the weapons that your boys have. So the Power Claw is good against tougher armoured things and does a lot of damage. Choppers are good against light armour with small amount of wounds. And a rocket launcher is good against big units. And finally the back page and next to combat patrols. So we got the Stormhost Silver, Night Quest of Flesh coming up next. And then we have Death Copters Part 1 and 2. So we learn about highlighting. We got faction rules. So hopefully the faction rules for the Chaos Space Marines. So you can finally play full games of combat patrol with them. Their full rules. So yeah, looking forward to that one in the near future. But finally then, we got issue 46 to look at. So this is going to be an interesting one. As it says on the back there, we're going to be looking at more highlighting. So this one will hopefully look at the starting of highlighting. So we get Stormhost Silver, so this is going to be used for all our metallic details, so gold and silver. Night Quest of Flesh, this is going to be used for a lot of our leather details. So into the issue we go. So highlighting teaches us to use our small layer brush from our premium kit. Ideal for using good tipped thin brush to help with your highlighting. How to use your brush, so this is a pretty good helpful guide. It shows you where to get your edges, on how you can use the side of your brush. Be careful not to spray your bristles as it will cause a bit of an overspill and drag down towards yourself. So yeah, sharp edges use the side of your brush, flat surfaces use the tip of your brush, so like your flesh here where you're relayering and then highlighting. So it looks like we're going to be highlighting orc flesh with wraithbone. That's going to be very interesting. I don't think that's going to work somehow. Maybe if you give another green shade over the top of it. And highlighting the cape there as well. We've got a few folds and stuff to look at. How to deal with metallics. So metallics are thicker types of paint, so you're going to need a little bit more water, making sure that the paint doesn't get too gloopy. And we've got a tutorial on how to highlight faces. So powdered witch flesh, just pick out the brows, the nose, the cheekbones, around the mouth and the chin, and finally the tops of the forehead, the sides of the mouth and nose there, and the jawline. Finally, Catachan flesh, the inside of the mouth and the eyes. Powdered witch flesh, the whites of the eyes and the teeth, and Abaddon black to dot for the eyes. So onto our paint guide. So we're going to be using some of our previous colours. So first off, it's Calgar blue. And I'm going to be using this to highlight all of our Ultramarine models, so our Chaplain included, our Teleport Homer as well, so edge highlighting all the armor panels. Take your time, this could take a while, so I'm going to get started on this as soon as I can. Then for Stormhost Silver on our Space Marines, highlighting the trim, the shoulder pads, the Infernus Marines weapons, the vents on the backpacks, any little reliquaries and stuff as well. Power swords and any gold detail on our chaplain. And then finally, Night Quest of Flesh, we're using this to highlight all of our leather details, so our pouches, scabbards, straps, and the book pouch for the librarian there as well. And there's our updated Space Marines, looking, well, a lot better actually. We haven't highlighted the chaplain's bike, so maybe that's going to be done in a grey rather than the blue, just to help differentiate it from the armour, I guess. And then for our paint guide, we're going to continue. We're going to use the same colours on our Eldari. So we're going to start highlighting lenses and gemstones with Calgar blue. Gold and silver details are going to be highlighted with Stormhost silver, as well as the spear there on the Farseer and the sword and the Wraith Lord. And then we're going to pick out the pouch with Night Quest of Flesh. And there's our updated Eldari models. So we've still got a lot of combat patrols that need a lot of attention, but these two are getting closer to completion. And we're not basing the jet bikes, which is a good thing to notice, because I've already started doing my Iandam ones. But yeah, we're leaving these as clear flying stands, which should be interesting, which should be good. Finally then, we've got some more lore on the orcs. This one is brutal but cunning. We see some different types of orcs. We got the squiggly beasts, the ooge and stompy mega armored not boys there. And we got the bigger is better, so we got the runt herd, and he's Gretchen there. So continuing with the core rules, we have our basic mission for, well, full-size games of combat patrol, which is only war. So, open play sort of scenario. So you need a minimum battlefield of 44 by 60 for incursion and strike force games, and onslaught games 44 by 90. So yeah, that's how to play using larger size games more than anything. And we got some new rules. So Eldari combat patrol rules, enhancements, secondaries, and stratagems for them. So we can finally utilize these. And the same for Chaos Space Marines, although we haven't yet got the Chaos Space Marines. As we have, we've got the Dark Pacts rules here, so that's what we're looking at. Sweet. So we've got the Dark Pacts tutorial, so we can actually put the Dark Pacts into use. So we won't be getting the faction rules until the Deathcopters issue. So yeah, new faction rules. So we're getting the the Chaos Space Marine faction abilities then. So 47, I'm definitely going to be doing a full game with the Chaos Space Marines as Eldari with everything now fully unlocked. So yeah, there we go. That's our next two combat patrols after this, and after that it's going to be the Death Dread. So he's going to be a big stompy boy to add to our orc collection as well. So right, let's bring everything back in. I'll give you my final thoughts on this and the future of the collection. So there we have it. That is delivery 12. Well, under our belt now, all unboxed and there for you guys to see. An interesting delivery, not the most exciting two same units, although we do have a little bit of variety with war gear, which is nice. It's a little bit different, so not every unit is going to be identical. But yeah, still the models are identical regardless of the two unique models per each 10. Kind of disappointing, but that's what you get for push fit models. But yeah, I must admit, I do like these boys. They're more dynamic and a lot more orky looking than the older models. Although, yeah, those old models do have a sort of je ne sais quoi about them. They're really cool. They do scream the old school sort of Warhammer, which is really cool. But yeah, these guys are definitely a lot better looking, I think, and better proportions as well, and more, as I said, dynamic, as they're not as squat as they used to be. So yeah, plastic wise, you only get effectively one kit, but you're doubled up because you're making two units out of it. So pretty good. I will give it a 4 out of 5. As it is newer kits, which is good, but it's duplicated, so it does lose out on being the full 5 out of 5. Paint issue then, so we actually do get some good paints. I think I'm going to give the paints a 4 out of 5 as well, because we get the Astrogranite, which is going to be important for basing, well, our entire collection. And we also get some nice new layer paints to help add more details to our Space Marines and our Eldari, as the guides have shown. But they'll be used on all our models going forward in the collection. We also get our texture spreader as well, which is a nice addition and does help put that particular paint issue at a bit of a value, as opposed to most paint issues, which is a loss. So you're actually saving about £3, I think, over the issue total price, because you're £6 for that, £4 odd for that, and £2 for that. So yeah, you're looking at about £3 to £4 saving, which is pretty good. Other than that, though, we don't get a lot of anything. We don't get any gaming supplies, no cards or anything, so can't say much for that. So that will give us a rating of 4 out of 5 for the entire delivery. Not the best delivery, but still a pretty good delivery. I had originally worked this out incorrectly. I had worked it out with only one lot of the Orc Boys included. And that was making it out to be one of the worst deliveries we've ever had. But I soon realised my mistake and corrected myself, and it's actually you're still saving roughly 50%, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more if you're not premium. But yeah, you do get a bit of saving, which is still good for this. Yeah, not a lot else I can say about it though. Really enjoying the models, looking forward to building these guys. Glad we don't have to build them all at the same time. I may do just the knobs for the build guides, just so you can see how the different knobs go together. And then for painting wise, I probably won't do 2 paint videos, seeing as they are near enough identical paint guides. Might do just the knobs again for the paint videos, so it gives me the Boyz and stuff to paint in between, which is going to be quite a task. Looking forward to, like I said, getting these guys built and painted anyway, as usual, with all new models. And as I've said before, I've never actually messed around with these orcs, so these are going to be a first for me. Most of them are open posed. Maybe some of the shooter boys I might leave as a sub-assembly just to help reach certain areas. But yeah, most of them are open posed enough to be able to get in behind all the guns and stuff, which is pretty cool. So there we have it. As usual, I'll put the prices up for you to check. Other than that, there's not a lot I can say. It's a great delivery. We got some nice bits of lore, we got some nice bits of rules, we got some awesome painting guides, which I'm looking forward to utilising. So yeah, the texture painting issue and the layering issue is pretty cool. We're looking at updating 2 combat patrols, the Eldari and the Space Marines. So like I said, I'm going to have to get to work on the Space Marines as soon as I can. A lot of models to do. So what I might do, as I'm not going to be adding those models or playing with those models in a while, I'll start work on those Ultramarine models, updating them between now and the issue where we start highlighting. So what I can do though is I can make use of my own particular Astro Granite and make a start basing the rest of the models in my collection. When we come to the play guide for issue 46, we'll be able to have a game with the updated painting of the Space Marines and the Eldari in a new mission we haven't played them in yet, so that'll be interesting as well. And there we go, I'll leave it at that. One thing I have forgot to mention, we have officially reached the halfway point of the collection with issue 45. So yeah, issue 45 is our midway point. We're on the starting journey towards our last 45 issues and issue 90. So yeah, there we go. All what's left for me to do, I think, is say thank you all very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video and this unboxing. Let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. And I'll see you next time for issue 43 of Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.